What's up, Natty fam? It's your boy Nick.
It's your girl Maddie. Welcome back to our channel, guys.
So for today's video, we're going to be covering a specific topic on body image, and predominantly we're going to be focusing on problems with being too lean. So Maddie and I are both big advocates of body image. With social media nowadays, a lot of people, you get the misconception with the ideal body fat levels of individuals and the healthy individual. So today we're going to debunk that and be talking about what is healthy. So we have a special guest that we would like to bring on to our channel. He is the most knowledgeable person that we can get on this topic because he knows exactly what to cover on this. So we want to bring him onto the channel. His name's Enea. Come on in.
All right, hello.
Hello, what's up? How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here.
No problem.
Guys, before we begin this whole little conversation, make sure to subscribe to our channel, click that notification bell, and follow us on the IGs to stay in the loop with Nick and Maddie and Enea.
Okay, so let's begin with this topic. First off, Enea, would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I've been working out for about 5 years now, and I took it pretty seriously. I still do. Probably I would say more seriously than the average individual, and throughout that whole 5-year time span, I've taken my body into states of being lean, more lean than I should have gotten, and that's why I was invited today to talk about that topic, because I've definitely pushed the envelope a little bit too much into levels that a lot of people would see and find appealing in a sense, but what's on the outside is not what's going on the inside. So there's kind of like a big misconception that a lot of people have that being lean, they associate that with health and well-being. And while in most cases, sure, it can, like getting leaner can help with your health and well-being, and there's definitely such a thing as taking it too far. There's a spectrum of taking things too far, whether that is being lean, whether that is bulking up, whether that is anything you do. And most people just don't see being lean as one of those things, but it actually is.
So what would you say is like an added benefit to being lean? What are some of the benefits that you notice?
Some of the benefits that I notice, I mean, other than just looks-wise, because that is a look that I personally like and strive for. So I do feel accomplished when I set out a goal and achieve it, but other than that, it does help in performance with certain things like calisthenics. It could help with sport-specific performance. There's looks, there's performance in certain things. You're a lot more agile, you're lighter, that usually means you're faster, so that can translate over to what you're trying to do. So yeah, I would say those are the main benefits.
So have you competed in the past?
I actually have not. I have gotten, I would say, to a level of being lean where I would be considered competition ready. But I haven't competed just because it was never one of my goals. I was doing it for personal selfish reasons. I never got the urge to compete for a few reasons. One, I know my genetics and I know that I just wouldn't be able to go far with it. And on top of that, just if you're in the inner loop of how competitions work, there's a lot of politics. And depending on the type of personality that you have, you can let that consume you, and a placing that's not as good as you hope for can end up ruining you and leading you on to things that are not necessarily healthy to just try and get that trophy. It's a path that I was avoiding from the start.
Being lean, obviously, it does help with your performance, I would say, in terms of just power, strength, agility, like all those criteria that come along with your training.
I would say not necessarily power, definitely agility, but power, I feel like absolute power is definitely greater when you got some body fat on you. But definitely for like agility, speed, jumping, and calisthenics.
So those attributes would be more beneficial being leaner, but yeah, the strength component, that would probably be better if you were.
If you notice, like strength competitors, strongmen, powerlifters, they're never the leanest people.
That's true.
So when making like the decision to be as lean as you were, was it because was it coming from just like low self-confidence?
That was definitely part of it, yeah. I mean, low self-confidence is what got me in the gym in the first place.
True.
And just being insecure about myself, not feeling like I was good enough.
I'm just gonna say one thing.
Yeah.
His transformation, guys, was absolutely phenomenal. Like, I watched the video over and over again because it was just unbelievable where you were to where you honestly, I'm gonna link that in the description box down below. You guys gotta check out that transformation. And didn't that like just
Yeah,
for your channel?
It blew up. That's basically what put my channel on the map. I had no idea. It was like a big surprise that it blew up. But basically I 110 pounds at the height that I am now, which is like around 6 feet. I definitely got well above that. The reason why I went to the gym in the first place was because of low self-confidence initially, and it was for shallow reasons like impressing girls and this and that, you know. But after a while, I really genuinely started to like it, and it was something that I found that I could be good at. So I was doing it more for that reason. But then the more I started to do it, the more it became part of my personality and who I define myself. So it was more of, I can't fall short of my expectations,
Right.
because then who am I if I don't have this? I align myself with just that one thing and nothing else, which is not necessarily good to do, but it does have its upside as well, because it did push me a lot harder to break my limits and achieve things that I normally wouldn't on the physical aspect of things.
And then I feel like too, like at that moment though, you would kind of unveil things about yourself, like that you can actually do these things, like drive yourself to these limits and just be determined, passion, motivate. Like I'm sure it would have that added benefit as well.
Yeah. It definitely started for the wrong reasons, but it became more for the right reasons as I went along.
Right.
For sure.
Now, did you notice, this is a big one now, did you notice any change in like behavior, any other like kind of areas in your life that were taking a hit when you were
yeah, definitely, big time. So first of all, there is such a thing as being lean and healthy. I would say, like a broad estimation, this is not true for everybody, but if I had to say it, I would say that within the 8% realm, you're okay. Start dipping below that, and then you start seeing these side effects. At least that's how it was like for me.
Yeah.
So as far as mood goes and changes in that aspect of things, it was definitely a shock initially, because I'm a very positive person and I stay motivated and negative thoughts don't really cross my mind. But when I was in a state of constantly depriving myself of food, low energy is the first thing that I noticed. After that, it became just the constant need of food, and food just constantly being on my mind, which didn't help with my mood. And then just after a while, it was just a general sense of not feeling well. I stopped being the happy person that I was, and everything would tick me off. And I mean the smallest things that normally I would be totally okay with.
Yeah.
Like for example, it could be something so small, like my mom coming into my room and saying, clean your bed. Normally I'd just be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna make my bed. But at that state, I just lost it. I started screaming.
And you don't realize it too.
Yeah, I thought it was everybody else. I didn't think it was me.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I started eating again that got into those healthy body fat levels that I was like, oh my God, I was a complete asshole.
Yeah.
What was I doing? And a lot of people will associate it with just being hangry. I would say it's like being hangry times 200. It's a lot worse than being hangry. Imagine being hangry, but way worse, and having low energy. That's, I would say, what it feels like. So as far as relationship goes, the first time that I did it, I didn't have a relationship. I was just with my friends. That's the only relationship that I had. I'm very glad, because if I did, I feel like it would have completely ruined it. Not only for the sense that my mood was bad, but because it was so self-absorbed and everything was about me. If I wasn't losing the weight that I needed, then I would go crazy. I couldn't go out anywhere. I couldn't eat anything. I mean, back then, it's not like you can't, because if you fit things into your macros, we know now that you can still go out. But I was in a state where even having a little bit of indulgence on foods would cause me to just overindulge myself, and I couldn't kind of control myself, so I would only stick to foods that were not tasty to me. That definitely didn't help the situation either.
How is your relationship with food right now? Like, is it like still in recovery, or like, because I know with me, like, I've had kind of the same experience where I got to a like really low weight, like unhealthy for my height and whatever, and like I'm still has such a bad relationship with food. Not bad, it's obviously better than it was like before when I was like at a low weight, but
okay, I have a story about that actually. So I had done my cut for a very long time, and I just kept depleting and depleting and depleting, and I had achieved the milestone that I set for myself. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna reward myself. It's been long enough. I went to the store and I got a bag of chips and a chocolate bar. Very simple. I remember first putting the bag of chips in my mouth and just boom, immediately I lit up. I'm like, oh my God, this is what taste feels like. This is amazing. After that, I devoured it in very little amount of time, then immediately went on the phone, ordered a large pizza, extra large pizza, and like this big Hershey cookie chocolate thing. And that is also one thing. When you've deprived yourself of food for so long, your stomach becomes smaller to accommodate for that. Not necessarily smaller, but your appetite becomes smaller to accommodate for that. I couldn't eat as much as I usually eat in that state, so an extra large pizza I could not finish it at all in that state. As soon as I went home, I started eating, and I was noticing that I was becoming nauseous and full at some points, but for some reason I just couldn't stop eating. I had no idea why.
Even though you didn't have the desire to.
Even though I didn't have the desire to eat, I just kept eating and eating and eating up until I went to my bed, and I was just hyperventilating because I had eaten so much. And then that's when I realized, wow, I have a problem right now. This is not good. And then I would say after that, after having done it more times than once, that was the worst of it. Each time that I did it, I got better and better and better, up until I just stopped having that bad relationship with food. And I don't know if it would be like that for everyone who pushes their body to extremes, but I also don't consider myself a big foodie. That's one thing too.
In the beginning, to begin with, you're not.
Yeah, even to begin with, I'm not really big into foods, especially just because my appetite isn't very big to accommodate for that. But even for someone like me, it was still pretty bad.
Now, I'd really like to know, and I'm sure everybody else would like to know this as well, with your intake of food when you were at your leanest, can you just kind of run us through, like, how did that look? Like, how many calories, like, just generally were you eating to sustain that physique?
Okay, so initially when I first started, I didn't have as much muscle as I did later on. And I would say that I went as low as 1,800 calories, which is honestly not that bad.
Yeah.
Because I think I still had a general understanding that I knew kind of what I was doing at that time. There's obviously cardio too on top of there, so the deficit was there, but it was sustained through a long time.
And your metabolism.
And my metabolism is also pretty fast, generally speaking.
I was thinking for a second it was going to be like
some crash diet.
Like crash
no, yes. So the crash diet, you can do it, and honestly it does work, but it's not sustainable. But
it's true though. The reality is though, some people need to do that to even get to that level of leanness.
Yeah, some people generally
for myself,
do, yeah.
If I was to cut down to that level of leanness, I would have to drop under 1,800 to even get there, because the body types, again, I'm not like ectomorph, smaller bone structure, appetite not so much, and it's more of like a hard gainer for ectomorphs, as in like mesoendomorphs, their appetites are more increased, and losing body fat's a little bit more difficult because we're just.
And that's why
all of us people of different body types and bone structures would have to do things differently, but at the end of the day, like, being at that level of body fat is not where you want to ideally.
Yeah,
right.
I wouldn't stay there year round. A lot of people
when would you say, like, is a good time if you were to do it? Like, who would that be for, and when would you do it?
When would I do it? Honestly, I don't feel like there's a certain time that I would do it. More, if anything, more for the summer, just for the whole thing of I'm going outside. I control my body at least or something. Yeah. But I've had times where I've done it in the winter too. Like, it honestly doesn't really matter to me. Just make sure that the reason of why you're doing it is kind of right. Because a lot of people do it to add to their self-worth, and tying that with your self-worth is not necessarily the best thing to do. When looking at social media, even my social media, I'm kind of guilty of this too. People would get the perception that I look like that year-round because the pictures and videos that I post are the ones where I look the best. Yeah. I'm the leanest, I have the best lighting, and that's just kind of what you have to do in order to be competitive. So it's something that a lot of people have to do, but people make the assumption that I look like that year-round, and I actually don't.
Yeah. And that's what people do on social media nowadays too, is they will post all these pictures at their best. So mainly it's about like validating and having a solid reason behind it if you are going to push your body to those levels of body fat. But is it really necessary just
absolutely not.
In general?
Absolutely not. And another thing that people have a big misconception of what actual body fat levels look like on people. So you'll have people throwing the term around shredded when they're actually just lean. And people think that, okay, well, I have to get shredded to look like that, when in reality, no, that's just lean, and anyone can achieve that.
I might notice, like, even for myself, in a case where I'm leaner than I think I am, I think that I'm much higher on the scale in body fat, and I just feel a lack of self-confidence, even though to one's eye, I'm actually like lean. I just think I'm much higher than where I am.
Body dysmorphia is a big thing.
It's true. That's another whole.
It's a whole another topic. But the more you get into the whole fitness realm and the whole obsessing with your looks kind of thing, I would say that when I was at my peak physique, my best look ever, which I would work out twice a day for it, I would be so disciplined, it was crazy. I would say that I wasn't any more satisfied with myself than I was when I first made my noob gains. The level of satisfaction never really increased, even though I looked significantly better.
Do you notice now, like the change that obviously drifting away from that lifestyle? How has that changed? Just how do you feel now?
I feel a lot happier, yeah. A lot happier because I'm not setting these deadlines on myself. The pressure is not there anymore, and I just kind of stopped caring about it, and I'm training and doing things that I actually enjoy. But before, I would do it even when I didn't want to, and that's what's changed. Whereas before, I felt like I had to meet a certain look, I had to be the shredded guy, I was that guy, and I had to look the part, and if I didn't look the part, then I was trash. So yeah, it was pretty much my mindset that shifted.
What is one takeaway message that you can let people know about being too lean?
If I could go back to my younger self, for example, and if I could tell myself something, it would be don't put your self-worth with how you look. It's very temporary. It could slip away in a second. But also always strive to be better in every aspect of life, whether that is looks, whether that is whatever that is. Never be content, never be satisfied, but don't put your eggs all into one basket. Don't be the guy who would just trains to look good and that's it, and that's all you are, and that's all you have. Be more, go explore other things. Once you start getting confidence from these other things, then if you fall short of your expectations on one aspect of things, you're like, well, it's not that bad because I still have all the other things.
Yeah.
Going on in my life. Don't be one-dimensional.
Well, don't be one-dimensional.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Well, thank you for joining us today on Nick and Maddie.
No
we
problem.
really do appreciate you coming in and telling us about this topic. Now, where can they find you on social media?
Social media, I have my YouTube channel. It's called Neoshred. Instagram, Neoshred X. And that's pretty much it. That's all I have.
Gotta plug it.
Yeah, so we're gonna link everything in the description box down below for Enea here. And yeah, this guy's the real deal. He's really knowledgeable on this topic and just like again about fitness and...
Oh, one more thing. If you have a girlfriend and if you have a healthy sexual life, it will not be healthy anymore. It will completely go away. Let's just say that the leaner you get, once you start to cross that line, you definitely don't have the sexual desires that you normally would, and it's so weird, but they all go away.
They'll go away. And that's how we're gonna end the video off. So until next time, Nick, Maddie, and
Enea
signing out. Catch you in the next one.